Hey everyone! In this video we're going to be breaking down the following typical themes of the Jobava London. How to play the Jobava London in the Alpha Zero fashion by going for the early H-pawn push. How to build up the pressure and squeeze your opponents from a typical queenless middle game. How to undermine the Slav setup. And at the end of the video we'll be dealing with the dubious early C5. Okay, now the white pieces, let's get another Jobava London. Knight C3. Getting our bishop to f4. We see e6 gonna be going for knight b5, and knight a6 is generally the most common move that you're gonna be running into. Playing e3, this is important because after c6, knight c3, bishop takes on a6 will be a big threat, and against bishop e7 I'll show you an interesting line that I've recently looked up, which is this h4 move. And it's pretty useful if you're trying to play on the king side against bishop d6. I think maybe just putting the knight to e5 and then pushing the pawn. Idea is to castle long. Knight e4. I don't think this should be good for my opponent. Have a feeling maybe we can even simply steal some material like this. Bishop takes on a6. Maybe he's got bishop e5, but then I think he should be worse in those. If he just goes there, knight c6 is like really problematic for my opponent. Maybe not. This should be good, and we'll see. We'll decide. So I could do this, and okay, we'll decide after that. Okay, I knew this is a thing. So c3, queen takes on a6 is the point, but maybe we just push h5. So like h5, f6, I think there's knight g6 is a strong move. And he can't really take the knight because it's getting kind of mated. Has to play maybe like some sort of rook d8 move. I'm not sure though. Okay, bishop f4, I could simply take back with a knight, because if I take on f8, he wants to go bd6, but maybe then I can bring back the knight, so I think that's actually doable. I think he might have forgot about the fact that he still can't really take the g6 knight, I think, because he might be getting checkmated. Maybe he can take and try to play like queen a5, stop queen h5, but maybe we have rook h5, that is still annoying, and f5, rook h8 might be mating. King takes queen h5, we take on g7, he plays king d8, and then maybe queen f6 or something. What is e5? This is clearly losing, and I think maybe just mate into, in fact. That was a funny one, but like even if after queen a5 it felt like rook h5 was winning somehow. Okay, we get the resignation, that's pretty nice. Let's have a quick look on the game. So you see that actually pushing this h-pawn turned out to pay off in this game, but not sure how good it was. So knight e5, knight e4, no idea what this move was. Okay, I'm apparently supposed to just go queen g4, this seemed fine, and yeah, okay, knight g6 looks very good. Yeah, okay, and apparently computer likes this move. And white is just slightly better because we have better pawns. Play it slow. Queen b3, long castle ideas. This was apparently a mistake if he was playing something on this diagonal, which is like super unnatural. The idea is that obviously my knight is trapped, and after we can no longer use that idea and get the checkmate, because after bishop d6, even if they play, okay, queen b5 was only moved to hit this pawn as well. Yeah, I've missed this. And this would have been maybe giving a lot of counterplay, because like rook h5, queen b2 seems to be good for my opponent. Maybe rook c1 though, and still not easy. Like what I was calculating in game was queen a5, rook h5, and if f5 felt winning. Trying to work out this line in my head. Something like this, and I couldn't really understand what is this, but okay, we're just getting a new queen. So we would have been winning in this position, but he had queen b5 as a better move that I missed. So he played great game until I went greedy. Should have taken this way, and yeah, if they play like let's say slow move, Just h6, g6. And yeah, just like better. Queen c2, hit the pawn, eve f5. Then maybe queen b3 is even better. Some kind of computer stuff, but bishop is just, long story short, bishop is just terrible on d7. Weak dark squares, and white's just much better. Generally castling long, I think. Okay, getting white pieces. Let's try to get interesting Jobava game. See another Slav setup. I'm gonna be going for kingside play in case he would have played bishop f5 against this just knight f3, knight e5, and I feel like we can just play for long castle and get a big advantage. Just queen f3. Could have played bishop d3 as well, but I like this better. Could take with a pawn. What do we take with a here? Like ball 5, perfectly fine. Don't really like d here, to be honest. I know it's doable, but I think it's just better. And okay. Could play it positional. He wants e5. Let's try to get into some endgames. From the white side of the Sicilian, I used to play this endgames quite a lot. It's not really like the same thing, but I think can try to play it against his bishop. Okay, our idea should be to break with c4, but let's just do f3, g4 for starters. That is pretty much always useful, and we're staying very flexible. He can do a5, bishop a6, I don't mind it. He just plays it passive. Let's do knight e2, maybe bring it to f4. He can play bishop a6, but again, I still don't mind it. Now idea is to play knight e3 maybe. If c5, just c3. Okay, king f2 I think is good. If e5 we just take. Could also play knight e3, but I think taking is okay. Yeah, maybe rook h5. Making use of the h file. Then could potentially play rook d1 c4. That could be an idea. g5 would be like a pretty bad move because this pawn will always be weak and we can just play like knight e3. And yeah, just like rook d1 on the next move I think. On knight f6 maybe there's rook e5 check as an annoying move. And king d6. Simply rook f5. Now this is on the agenda. g6 hitting the rook, but still same issue. We could just go back and pawn has been slightly weakened. Now we have c4 idea. Maybe he has knight e5, stopping me from going c4 because he has dc. But knight c5, it's kind of a pointless move because it doesn't stop me from going c4, and he can't play rook d8 because this pawn will hang and maybe has to use this one. But we can still take and create the isolated pawn, which will be pretty vulnerable in the long run. And if he takes, happy to take back with a bishop, getting some development, and then ideas to push with e4. Okay, opponent taking his time. He goes knight e6. So I think maybe we can take a free pawn, because the idea is on knight f4 we have d6 intermezzo, and that looks winning. But the problem is maybe he can simply take back, and after knight takes bishop d5, rook d5, he can try to get active with rook c2. And maybe we have to play king g3, rook b2, bishop somewhere. I don't know. Is that like better for us anytime? Maybe it is, because we're threatening to play rook d1. Maybe could go for that. Do I have anything better? That's also the question sometimes. To go like cd and then just bishop d3 to stop that counterplay. Play it slow. Okay, taking first and then we decide. Okay, he just blunders the intermezzo. So you see, like, this is also sometimes not very practical to just try to see it in depth when you can like decide it later, because maybe if they blunder you just don't need to come up with a super solid plan against like the best line. So you see rook d8, we have ideas to take and go g5 among other things. Could also go g5 immediately, but I think just developing is okay. Bishop is pretty useful there. And if rook d7, g5 might actually be quite annoying because has forced to play king back to g7. Then we take everything and play g4. Could also do this move. Pretty funny one, but I think just taking, keeping it simple. Then g4. Actually, maybe it would have been better to play in this position instead of taking, to just go g4, but I'm like not sure. This also felt quite natural, and I think g5 is just winning because f6 or f5 trying to blockade things is bad in view of rook e1. Maybe that could be a good defensive idea, but I think now we've got an additional trick with the bishop coming over, which has just became available after pushing this pawn. And now could do bishop h3, forcing f5. Could also take and then go bishop h3, forcing rook d8 and then d7. That looks kind of winning. Because bishop h3, f5, it's maybe not so easy. Getting the pawn to d7 with rook d6 to come, I think it's pretty crashing. Big flat. So rook d6 is kind of forced to play king f7. Maybe then just f5. Yeah, just f5, trading pawns, trying to create another passer. King e7, just rook back. He's trying to push. Just f4. Before we have rook d4 winning. I missed that was an idea, but I think it's still winning if he takes everything and we have king d4. Jesus, this is becoming much closer than it should have. Okay, I'll have to play rook h2. Here. Okay, this is winning now. Okay, we managed to flag him, but was close one. Okay, so mistake was rook d4. I should have gone this way, yeah. This was dumb. It didn't make any sense. I forgot he wants bishop c6. I feel like somehow it's still a win, because they can never take the pawn. And now rook d2 should be good. Yeah, and now all the endgames are winning. Pretty basic stuff. Yes. Okay, f6 is draw. a3 was good, like a3 is only move, not sure if you guys see it. Really happy that I managed to find this move with 10 seconds on the clock, because it's only winning move. This is pretty nice actually. f6 is also very natural, but apparently he has a3 and it's a draw. Didn't see that he has it, but it just felt like I knew a3 is winning for sure, so I didn't need to look for anything else. And then the rest was kind of simple. Needed the art of pre-moves at the end, and also, by the way, you need to give up the pawn in order to win. Oh, could have gone the other way as well. Yeah, could have gone this way to mate, but I was having too little time to figure it out, because what a lot of people would do, they just like in this position, they'll just like go there and I don't know, they kind of, okay, this was doable as well. But what people do wrong, they tend to stalemate. Hey Einstein, welcome to the stream. So yeah, I think everything was quite nicely done here. I really like the way I play this. With taking and rook h5. Felt like it was everything really well played. And yeah, like this line I had in mind, and I told you that CD I could take, but maybe bishop d3. I was really considering this move. I would have probably taken on d5, to be honest. Apparently these endgames are only equal. Couldn't really tell though. I've seen this position and I thought maybe this and rook d1 could be a threat, because rook c8 I didn't like as a move for my opponent, because it felt like h6 would be hanging, but maybe knight c5 is strong indeed. So yeah, couldn't really tell during the game, but of course it helped that he blundered, because we just took. We're getting game, and let's go for the Jobava London. We're seeing the c6 lines and bishop f5, meaning that we're having the Slav, where I like best to go for the kingside play with f3 and g4. Here we see h6, which is an interesting line. Just going h4 followed by like bishop d3 and taking with a queen. That is usually what I like to go for. And on bishop d6, just knight e2, castling. Idea is to push g5. Yeah, knight a6, we see it on the board, but we can ignore it. Unlike knight b4, there's queen d2, same play, we don't really mind that. We see takes. Well, this could be interesting. I think the standard way to take back is simply with a knight, and okay, he's going queen a5, maybe just king b1, so on knight b4 you can just move the queen away without dropping the a2 pawn. And then we have a very tempting choice between g5 or e4. I think g5 might be better. Frankly speaking, playing a3 was maybe an alternative as well, stopping knight b4 ideas for good. Because now if I go g5, I still have to consider knight b4 every single move. Not that it's a great move, but I need to keep an eye on it, you know. But I think you can go g5, and then g6 is gonna have problems with a pawn on e6. Yeah, if they take pawn on e6 would have been dropping, and against queen c7, thinking about simply taking and fixing the weak square. So I think this is actually a pretty nice idea that, well, could also just jump on g6 immediately, with the idea that we're hitting the rook, and then the knight could be placed on a more active square on e5. And the point is that on knight g6, knight b4, we'll have knight takes on h8, hitting the rook, so that's why this works tactically as well. Now only move to go there. But knight e5 is gonna be pretty strong, I have a feeling. Even though playing the positional h5 was also decent, I feel like this is stronger, and I think only move queen c7 now, because queen e7 runs into knight c6. They have to go there to be able to take back with a queen. But on queen c7, okay, queen f6, but can just do that. Stealing the pawn, hitting the rook, no knight b4 because the knight covers it, and also hitting a7. So we see resignation, I mean, just how you get a quick win against almost like a 2300 player with a Jobava in 19 moves. So don't think I had to do any insanely crazy moves, just got myself developed, and the only key idea that I used was this undermining with g6, followed by the, I would say, precise knight g6, rerouting it towards the central square. And he had to play queen c7, but I still have a much better position, and I could continue maybe even with queen g6 ideas, or hitting the pawn, or simply rook g1 with long-term pressure on the g-pawn. Let's go for the Jobava London. And facing the d6 move, well, with c5, that is actually pretty bad now, because endgames are much worse generally for black. After you get your bishop to f4 and your castle long quick, because they are unable to get the king to the c7 square, which is usually the key in this kind of endgames. Yeah, now e6, but he's just like clearly worse. It's just a disaster pretty much. King of knight b5 has knight a6 like only move. I'll just start knight f3 with knight e5, and if knight c6, yeah, he goes f6, that's a good move, but not really saving it quite yet. We've gotta wait to like win this. I think e5 we've gotta like sack the piece. I'm not even gonna try to calculate it. It just feels winning. Wait, he doesn't play that, but knight c7, knight e6 is ending the game on the spot. So yeah, e5. Well, could take on a8 and play g3, king c8. Do I have an alternative, by the way? No, I think we just take that and okay, it should be completely winning here. So g3, king c8. What is next move? Could also do e3, maybe pawn takes e3 in that scenario. How do we rescue that knight? That is our task. Not an easy task. Perhaps he even tricked me. But that was only by accident, I think. Okay, to a cheap trick, I'll answer with another cheap trick. Because if they take with a pawn, I've got this idea. But that is obviously the correct move. Ah, and maybe on king c8 there is rook d7 and bishop h3. Yeah, that is crashing. Okay, finally. I've seen we're like rescuing the knight and he's just getting crushed. He's getting melted now. Knight coming into c7. It's like equal material, but his king is so weak. Could just take pawn on f4 as well. So knight c7, he goes king f7 anyways. Yeah, cashing in the pawn feels kind of nice, and king f7. Knight c7 is pretty simple. Win. Now if they go there, there's bishop e6 annoying. With f5 maybe. Or rook d1 simply. Knight d4. They can just go knight b5. Do I have better? Maybe. I don't really need it though. Maybe rook d1 is simplest now. Activating the rook, and if king d6, just knight b5 and take. Yeah, it took me a while to find this move to give back the exchange, because I used to play it. I was about to go like really greedy, but then realized, okay, I can give it back and we're getting crashing position. Because intuitively I knew we should have a crashing position. Because what black did felt so wrong, but I just had to come up with the concrete lines. Okay, how do we kill him now? He shouldn't really get to finish development here. Maybe he will, but he shouldn't, I have a feeling. Okay, just go back and bishop g2, activating the bishop. e4 was doable, but then you don't really want to take on f5, so why bother playing it? Could do rook d8, pinning the bishop. Simply rook b8, perhaps. Bishop d6, knight d5. Also taking is completely winning. Knight d5, king e6, trading is fine. But I think this is better than d3. Forgot he takes on h2, but shouldn't really make a big difference. Yeah, still managed to make it a bit messy. It's just today's theme. I feel like usually I think we're doing okay in terms of conversion, but today it's just been so messy all the time. I think pushing this pawn is best because it's gonna be supported by the bishop. And I think that's like a blunder, no? Yeah, it's blunder because we have knight f6. I mean, he was losing, but this one makes it easier to win because we take this pawn. My knight is never getting trapped, and we are up 3 connected pass pawns, which should count for something eventually. Just push one of them. Now just get this pawn to b6. That's next step. Okay, getting my king involved as well to push c4. Knight c4, king c3. I think it's accurate. Not allow knight d2, but not that it matters. Yep. King b3 and c4. I don't really mind knight d2. There's just king c3 and king d3. The knight is kind of trapped anyways. Trying to bring my own to d5, pawn to b6. His knight is still doomed. a new queen. Alright, we're getting the checkmate. Finally. I think that was pretty good sequence at the beginning. If we just go back into the analysis tab. Then I was supposed to play e4. Another move I had in mind was this. I knew this is good, but I wanted to go a bit brutal. And okay, I think it was really precise what I did. Okay, see? Only winning move is this sequence that we've seen. That was actually super important. G3 combined with rook d7. And bishop h3, and then it's just, he's doomed. That was really strong. Yeah, okay, then technique was kind of dodgy, but I think it was always around +2 range, and now after this is easy win, obviously. Thanks a lot for making it this far into the video, and if you're looking for more content, make sure to check out some of the previous episodes from the same series.